Good
What's
evening,
up?
basketball fans. Welcome to Behind the Basket. We've got a special Houston episode, not because I'm from Houston, but because the biggest news in the NBA, and probably the biggest news all season, is, of course, James Harden actually got traded. I know Jake's going to have a field day with this one. He's already got the banner.
I'm
Uh,
not even going to argue with it. After the week that we had with James Harden.
I would get so much more hype and so much more animated if I didn't feel like absolute dog shit tonight. So I'm going to let you guys take this. I'm going to let you guys handle it. I'm just going to stay in the back.
So, okay.
All right, well, Jake will keep us entertained with some lovely banner comments, I'm sure. James Harden is not a leader is one of the taglines of the show, apparently. So this is probably going to take the majority of our time because this has a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of effects that are going to be felt across the league because of this trade. So we'll start off. The Brooklyn Nets got James Harden from the Rockets, and for what it's worth, a second-round pick from the Cavaliers. The Rockets, by trading out Harden, they received guard Karis LeVert, who then flipped for Victor Oladipo, Rodions Kuduks, who's he hasn't really played a whole lot in his career. They got three first-round picks
how to
from
say his name.
Brooklyn.
I was going to ask you how to say that name, all of their names. I read them all so many times yesterday. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have a nightmare with this tomorrow. I don't know how to say any of their names.
I got you. I only know how to pronounce his name because I watched some pre-KD and Kyrie Brooklyn Nets. I really liked when they had D'Angelo Russell. So Rockets, they got three first-round picks from the Brooklyn Nets, 2022, 24, and 26, as well as four first-round pick swaps for the 21.
Can you explain
so,
because that confused me.
Yes. So basically, and then they got a fourth first-round pick that's
right.
As part of that, just to finish that up. So a pick swap, it's not a full trade, but it basically means that if Brooklyn's pick is ever better than what Houston would get, they have the right to switch. So let's say after all this, let's look at one of the years. 2027 is one of their first round pick swaps. That's in the future. KD and Kyrie might be on other teams. They might be regressing. So let's say the Nets miss the playoffs, but Houston doesn't. So the Nets have a lottery pick, and Houston can say, okay, well, part of the James Harden trade means that we'll flip that. We get the lottery pick, and you get our late first round pick.
So that doesn't expire?
Say that again?
Sorry, what? That doesn't expire? Like they have till whenever to make those four swaps?
They'll basically decide before each draft of that year whether or not they want to swap.
Okay. Well,
I assume that they only will swap if they're getting a better pick.
Right. I think that they honestly got the best end out of the entire deal, but every team I think came out better because of it. But who else was it? The Pacers. They got LeVert, right?
Yes. So the Pacers got LeVert from the Rockets in exchange for Victor Oladipo, which we'll break that down. That's a very interesting move. And then the Cavaliers, they got Jarrett Allen and Taurean Prince and rights to a guy who I've never heard of before. And they basically only gave up Dante Exum and a first-round pick, which isn't too bad. There's been some jokes about the Cavaliers have way too many bigs, and they could have a starting lineup of a little taller than 6'8". But Jarrett Allen is a great young player, and he kind of fits with their young core because I assume they're going to move away from Kevin Love and Andre Drummond probably as soon as they can. And having Jarrett Allen as that backup big man to fill into that starter role, I think, is a big win for them as well.
How tall is he? Do we know?
Jarrett Allen, I don't know off the top of my head, but 6'11".
That's pretty freaking tall. Okay. Let me see. Hold on.
Yeah, most of them are.
Yeah. Well, so okay, what do you think about LeVert being on the Pacers?
So I think if I had to grade all of these trades, I think the Rockets win
Okay.
overall. James Harden wanted out, so what are you going to do? And to get 4 first-round picks and 4 pick swaps into the future, after
Mm.
not really having picks when they traded for Russell Westbrook, I think they did a really good job of salvaging their future. Um, and then I would put the Pacers second because Karis LeVert has really shined in solo moments, which he hasn't had a lot of. Before Kyrie and KD came on board, he was injured, so he didn't really get a whole lot of minutes to break out. And in the games that he's played without Kyrie and KD, both last season and this season, he's been phenomenal. He's scoring nearly 30 points in those games. He's showing that he can facilitate and defend. I think he's a star in the right role, and I think he will really break out on the Pacers. I don't know why the Rockets didn't want to keep him. I
I don't either.
wonder if it's because they want to try to win as many games as they can with John Wall and Boogie Cousins. And Victor
Mm-hmm.
Oladipo's more of a veteran leader. He's having a great season coming back from his injury. But he's on an expiring contract, so he's probably, I mean, nothing's for certain, but he could very well leave the Rockets after this season, whether in a sign and trade or not. So I'm
Right.
interested to see what Houston plans on doing with Oladipo.
I think that gives him the motivation to play harder, to get a good signing after the season. But I heard that he wants to end up on the Heat. So I mean, I don't know if there's any truth to that, but that he was hoping that the Rockets would make another trade and make him and send him to the Heat. Which I don't see the Heat trading anybody I don't know. I think that the only people I would want from the Heat would be Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson, and I don't know if they would make the trade for either of those for, how do you say it, Oladipo? Is that how you say
Yeah.
it? I swear I've just been
Yes.
looking at this all day saying I'm going to mess one of them up. I know it because I always do. But I don't see them trading either one of those guys for him. So I don't know.
Yeah, especially because Oladipo's on that expiring contract, which makes him an
Mm-hmm.
unrestricted free agent. If you're the Heat, especially right now, they've struggled to start their season. They're below 500. They have a good young core, and I just don't see any reason for them to blow that up just to get Oladipo. As much as I love Oladipo as a player, and he's one of the better two-way guards in the league, I just think that you wait and hope that you can sign him in free agency instead of trying to trade for him right now. If this Harden trade doesn't work out, would you say this trade is worse than the Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce trade to Brooklyn? I'm going to say no simply because Harden is still in his prime right now.
Mm-hmm.
When the Nets made the decision to trade for KG and Paul Pierce in, I don't remember, 2014, 2015, whatever it was, they were already on the decline. Like, they were not the same players that they used to be on that 2008 championship team or even before. So, like, I thought that was a dumb trade from the beginning. But
Mm-hmm.
regardless, like, Harden is such a superstar player right now that, like, it makes sense that they had to give up as much as they did. Now, can the trade really backfire on them and fail? Yes, but they're going all in on a championship. So, like,
So,
I mean, I can't say that I would do anything differently.
what do you think about having all these ball handlers in Brooklyn? Kyrie, KD, and Harden. How do you think that that's going to work? Because I don't think it's going to work. And to be fair, Kyrie's not even there. So I don't know. What do you think?
It's going to be tough. Now, I had those same reservations when Kyrie and KD first came on the same team. You know, they're um, very heavy on ball handling. And
Mm-hmm.
KD was able to make that work in Golden State because Steph is very good off the ball, and Clay only plays off the ball. KD went from the Splash Brothers to the Dribble Brothers. I was wondering what you're laughing at. And then KD before with Russ, I guess I forgot how well that worked because the KD Kyrie duo has been phenomenal so far. KD's offensive game is just so diverse that I think he can fit anywhere. Now, Kyrie and Harden, I think, is going to be a tough fit because neither of them have really shown much of a tendency to be effective off the ball, nor do I think they want to. But also, at the end of the day, you have three of the best offensive players in the league, and you're going to need a lot of defenders to be able to stop all three of them at once. Any one of them can take over at the end of the game, and very few teams have enough defenders at a high level to be able to shut them all down.
Right. Now, so Kyrie, since all of the, political events that happened last week, he has not been playing for personal reasons. He hasn't come out and said that's the reason, but he was one of the players who had reservations with the bubble. And he didn't even go to the bubble because he felt like what was going on in the world was more important at the time. So he hasn't gone. And then he got recorded at a family's birthday party with no mask. So then I don't know if he got in trouble for that or anything. I know Harden had gotten fined for it previously, so I don't know if he got fined, but he still hasn't played. So who was it? Someone said that they think he just needs to retire now. What do you think about Kyrie? What, you frozen? Huh?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. I'm sorry. I'm having some connectivity issues. I keep hearing you on like a delay. And if I hear you, sometimes you sound like a robot. I don't know what's going on with it. Okay. So what do you think about Kyrie?
So first, I think they debunked the video as one being taken before COVID happened and stuff.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that because I haven't really done my research on the whole thing. I do know, however, that he has spoken recently with the general manager, Sean Marks, I think is his name. And we don't have any direct quotes from from Kyrie, but the Nets general manager said that Kyrie expressed to him, I don't know how much expressing to him, but he expressed that he's excited to return to the team. There's been some thoughts about maybe he pulled a little stunt so that he wouldn't have to be included in trade package to Houston. Maybe him going off the grid like that made it so that the Rockets wouldn't want to trade for him. I don't know, because that's a pretty big brain for what Kyrie's been doing the past couple months.
That worked for me because I saw what he was doing and I was like, I don't want Kyrie. He doesn't even show up. So if that was the plan, it worked. That's crazy.
I don't know. The other thing is, though, if they had put Kyrie in that package, they probably wouldn't have to give it as many picks and pick swaps as they did. So, I mean, there is a trade-off there. They probably got the most formidable big three in the league. Of course, none of them are known to be good defenders. I mean, they may be passable. KD was a very good defender in Golden State, but with his Achilles injury, he's never fully bounced back. Harden, as we both know, has improved, but he's still no lockdown defender. And Kyrie never has really been a good defender. But even before this, the Brooklyn Nets are a top 3, maybe even top 2 offensive team in the league, with Kyrie and KD kind of bouncing on and off the team. So just the pure offensive firepower of this team is going to be hard for teams to handle.
I think I'm going to have to try and exit out of this and come back in because my connection is horrible. Can you give me like 2 minutes? I'm going to close out and reopen. Okay?
Yeah, so I'll just go over more of the details of this trade just to solidify the first round pick swaps that the Rockets get from Brooklyn are from the 2021, 23, 25, and 27 seasons, which is a little risky, like I mentioned before, that in these future seasons when the Nets might not even be that good, they may be at risk of losing their first round picks that could be in the lottery. Of course, that might lead them to overpay some free agents just to try to balloon their wins until they have their own picks back, or just to prevent them from getting swapped. Of course, if the Rockets are horrible as well, then there's no fear for that. The Rockets also got Dante Exum from the Cavs. He was a guy who I think had high expectations coming into the league, but he's been bounced around quite a bit since then. And then the page what I have right here does not have the base, so I did get swap with Kareth Levert and Victor Oladipo. How is the audio now, Elizabeth?
It's still pretty choppy. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know if it's my internet or what, but I'm gonna try and just hear what you're saying and keep going.
I'm pretty sure it's Hunter tonight.
It's Hunter's internet?
All right. Well, when people first come into the stream, it's usually a little choppy, so we'll try to see if it works through that.
Yeah, it keeps.
So I think the next thing to focus on.
Man.
Keeps what?
I think it's, I don't know, you keep freezing like mid
Right.
and then I don't know. We always have technical issues, I swear. Okay.
Martin says I'm also coming in and out. Weird. Looking quite fine on my end.
It's Hunter. Okay. It's not me.
So apparently it's my fault. Hey, Chad, we're doing well. I'm trying to do well with my stream here.
I don't know what you said.
All right.
How is everyone doing tonight? Hey, Chad. Okay, so let me see. I want to talk a little bit about what led up to James Harden leaving, because that's some drama that we just can't really skip over. So everybody, he had announced that he wanted out of Houston, and it seemed like he was still going to try at least a little bit. But then these past couple games, there's just, James Harden scores. Oh, he's back.
Yeah, I'm on my phone now. How is it?
It's keep talking. It's a little better than it was a second ago.
Hello, it is me, Hunter, from behind the basket.
Okay, I can hear you now. Let's see if that works.
All right, let's keep going.
Okay, so I was talking about what led up to James Harden getting traded, about how he had, requested the trade, and he was kind of trying to do the team ball thing, and it just wasn't. Nothing was happening. He, I think, scored 15 points one night, and we all know that is not James Harden. And then the day before yesterday, they played their second game to the Lakers, which were horrible games. I don't know if you saw any of them, but they were just, as a Rockets fan watching them, I was like, oh my God, this is like probably the least enjoyable game I have ever watched. Twice back to back. Like it was horrible. And so then Harden got interviewed at the end of that game, and he said that the team didn't have talent. He said that they didn't have chemistry, that he's done everything he could do. He's like, I love the city. I've done everything I can do for him. I don't know. I don't think it's fixable. And after he said that, it was just, I knew a trade was coming the next day. There was no going back from that, from saying your teammates don't have talent. There's no coming back. And then so DeMarcus Cousins the next day, he was pretty vocal about it, about being mad about what Harden said, and they didn't even invite Harden to practice. They said it would be better if he didn't come before they left on their trip to play the Spurs tonight. So we all knew it was coming, and I feel good about it, honestly. At this point, he was like a toxic boyfriend to the team. Like, you want it, you want to love them, and you're trying to just, but at this point, he was the problem. So, I mean, they're playing tonight, and I don't know what the score is at the moment, but the first two halves, they looked good. I mean, I was working on a project with my son, so I wasn't fully zoned in, but I mean, they were winning. I don't know how they're doing now, though.
And they are down by 7 to the Spurs.
It was a pretty evenly matched game, though. It wasn't like the Lakers games. God, those were so bad. I don't know. Did you see the clip of LeBron?
Which clip?
Oh my God, he did this. Like, they were just destroying us. They were up by like 30 points.
Was it the turnaround three?
Yes,
Was that against the Rockets?
Turned around and didn't even watch. I mean, of course, it went in, and that was just. I think that was actually the point that I was like, okay, I'm going to bed. I can't watch any more of this, and I don't want to. And that was horrible.
I didn't realize I watched the clip, but I wasn't paying attention to who they were playing. But yeah, I mean, it's a new chapter for Houston basketball. Harden's been the face of the franchise since he was traded there.
Like 8 years now.
Yeah, quite a long time. But they got Christian Wood is still playing very well. It does not look like a fluke. It looks like he is developing into a very solid player that Houston should be able to keep a hold of for hopefully many years to come. Got a whole bunch of picks to use now. And the team culture already seems to be improving. You mentioned DeMarcus Cousins kind of talking about his feelings. Eric Gordon also spoke out about how the team just feels so ready to move on from all the Harden drama that's kind of come out of this whole situation and the things coming to light about how the franchise have just been letting him kind of run the world. So they might not be winning a whole bunch of games this season now that they don't have, MVP James Harden. But I think I mean, you can say this much better than I can, but I think Houston fans got to be happy that they're able to turn the page with what I believe to be a very successful trade on their part.
Well, and, it's not like he left us with nothing. Tonight, actually, even though they're playing well and everything, they're missing Eric Gordon and John Wall and Daniel House and all of key players, and Daniel House, not many people know his name as well as anybody else's on the team, but he really does make a difference when he plays. It's like the team falls apart when he doesn't play. And he started having back spasms right before the Lakers games. But actually, I think now he's out because of COVID related stuff. I'm not sure. But yeah, I feel like they have a solid team to build around. Jayshawn Tate has been great. During the Lakers game, when they were falling apart, we were down by 30 points, probably 30 plus at some points. The only one out there who was still playing aggressively, still trying, visibly trying, was Tate. And he's new. We got him from, I think, he was playing overseas. And then Sterling Brown is a really good shooter. And then they've got David Nwaba. They've got all these new players who I just really think that they have a solid team. Are they a championship team? No, probably not. But, I mean, maybe like an 8th seed, 7th seed, maybe.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I think they're in danger of possibly missing the playoffs, which is unfortunate. But I only say that because of John Wall not being able to play all the games, still tending to his injuries to make sure that he's recovering well. We see that with DeMarcus Cousins as well. They're both being very careful. And the West is just still so loaded. It's so competitive that if you lose a step as big as trading Harden, it's going to be very difficult for them to keep up. But the bright spots are, if you look at Tate right now has 8 assists in only 25 minutes. Christian Wood, 19 points and 14 rebounds in only 28 minutes, shooting 50% from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. Sterling Brown, 6 of 12 for 16 points. So, like, you've got some good young guys. This is a team that has future value now, whereas Houston was a perennial Western Conference finalist contender and even had some championship aspirations several times since the James Harden arrival. Now they're kind of retooled for the future, and it doesn't look like they've lost much of a step. It's not
Right.
like some teams where they lose their superstar and it will take them years just to get to a point where they're like, okay, we're on the right track, which is why I'm such a huge fan of Houston getting as many assets as they did. I do wish they kept LeVert. I think he has a really high ceiling, but he also is a little injury prone, which you already have with, John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins and to a degree, Victor Oladipo as well. So there a lot of unknowns for the Rockets, but I'd say that it's definitely on the positive side.
So it is very unknown also because we have the new coach, and really I don't feel that we've gotten to see the full spectrum of his play yet, because they were trying to fit James Harden in a place that he didn't belong. I felt like every time that they had Harden on the court, he wasn't, it was like he didn't know where he should be because he wasn't playing ISO, So I feel like now we're going to see more of what Steven Silas can do. Plus, they've got a new general manager, and there's still time to make trades. There's rumors that PJ Tucker that apparently a bunch of teams wanted him, which I hope they don't trade him. I like PJ Tucker a lot. But so, I mean, there's still, I don't know what they're going to do completely, just because I don't know how this general manager works yet, but he did a good job so far. I think he's really pulled us out of what would have been a horrible Harden-sized hole.
Yeah, I agree. It was a good move. And I think at this point, if you trade an MVP caliber player without getting one in return, like if you guys got Kyrie, for example, you're still in a win now mode because Kyrie, he's had a phenomenal season. He's doing really well. He's an all-star level player. Instead, you got a ton of future assets. So I think at this point, the Rockets are probably looking at rebuilding, which would mean trading PJ Tucker. He's probably the best piece they have. He does provide some veteran leadership, which, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's part of the reason that, guys like Christian Wood are doing well because of just his experience and locker room presence. But you have a lot of championship contender teams that are going to be looking at those little moves that can push them ahead. PJ Tucker can fit on any team. He's a very good defender. Defense wins championships. I saw something that since 2004, every single NBA champion has been in the top 11 teams of defensive rating. And I think they said 11 just because the KD Warriors were 11th, I think, which is actually, I thought they were better than that, but whatever. So we'll see. There's probably a lot of suitors for PJ Tucker, and at this point, they should be able to, not the Lakers, I hope not, but you can probably get a pretty good haul for PJ Tucker right now, where the title race still is looking pretty wide open.
Right. Okay, so we've spent the first half talking about the Rockets. I want to go in a little bit to what do you think the NBA is going to do about this coronavirus? Oh my gosh, dude. Like every team is getting hit. The 76ers, I think the Bulls. I don't even know the latest teams because it happened right before the trade drama, so I missed it. But I know that a lot of teams are playing with like 8 players. Boston just took a week vacation, but they say they don't want to shut down. So what do they do?
Yeah, well, most teams are not playing with fans still. I think a very select few are, and they're not allowing many. I think the only games I've seen with fans so far were both Florida teams, Orlando and Miami.
I know the Rockets are because my ticket lady emailed me.
Oh, there you go. Very, very few fans, though, in the crowd. Very, very spaced apart. Tomorrow, 2 games have been postponed: the Wizards and Detroit game and the Golden State Phoenix Suns game. Celtics has been hard by this. The Sixers also were. And I believe the Heat also had a spat of missing a bunch of players. And it's an interesting situation because my understanding is that they're out because of contact tracing. Not that most of the team has gotten a confirmed test, but because the league is trying to stop the virus from spreading at all. And I think the reason that they're continuing with games is because they know it's mostly precautionary thing. They'll postpone a couple games, they'll go through the contact tracing, and then if all goes well, I mean, I guess Boston's been out for longer than I thought, but they're slated to play their game tomorrow. But for a lot of these teams, it's like, okay, we just play with who we have, and then in a couple of games, we get our guys back when their tests come back negative. And I think they're going to continue doing that. And if it ever gets to a point where the tests are coming back positive, maybe they think about a bubble again. But I just think that it's so expensive and time consuming to try to do that.
I don't think the players would agree to it.
The players certainly don't want to. George Hill, he mentioned if the league is going to stop him from seeing his family, he's just going to stop playing. But I mean, I don't know. There's still a lot of things that could happen.
So Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL, was on Adam Shine today on Sirius XM Mad Dog Radio, Channel 82. Gary Bettman is the NHL commissioner, and he was talking about the possibility of doing another bubble. And he said it's unreasonable, and unrealistic because it's not like it was just to get the seasons done where you were there for 1, maybe 2 months. You're looking at 6 months, and on top of you can't get across the Canadian border, it makes it a whole other issue for the hockey side of things. But you can't reasonably ask these guys to be away from their family and friends for 6 months plus.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
and that's what George Hill's talking about. I'm sure he's not the only one. Most of these players are very COVID conscious. They're not doing the majority, can't speak for all of them, but most of them realize that it's serious. It could end the season, so they're being careful. But they also know, like, hey, we need our families during this time. We need to be able to have that sort of interaction. We just mentally cannot handle a bubble again. I think the league understands that. And also just from a monetary or like a financial standpoint, the bubble was expensive.
Right.
But they were able to finish the season. Keeping the fans along for the long-term purposes of the league is very important. And I just think best case scenarios for them to be able to finish out the league and maybe push playoffs back a couple of weeks to take care of any postponed games that need to be done for standing purposes.
See, I know that they put in some new things, like the guys can't go high five each other from other teams to try and keep it from spreading within the league. So like, no before game high fives, stuff like that. They're gonna cut that out. But I don't know. I don't know if last year was actually the asterisk year as much as this year is. Like I feel like half these games they're not playing at full strength. They don't even have their full team to play. So I don't know that the championship is going to be as real. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I mean, I get what you mean. I think we'll have to see how the season plays out because the circumstances are affecting everybody. I do think it's a little silly that you can't high five a player when you have 10 guys sharing the court and pushing each other
sweating
around.
in each
So
other's faces the whole time.
I'll just say that. But I wouldn't go as far to say it's an asterisk year yet, unless like come playoff time, there is a really good favorite team. Like let's say the Nets lose a bunch of their players because of contact tracing in the first round of the playoffs and they lose. That might become a little bit of an asterisk because they're looking like championship favorites. Same thing for the Lakers. If the Lakers can't play with LeBron and AD and they lose home court advantage or they don't have them for a playoff series, that would be an asterisk to me. But for the regular season, I think, a month from now, the playoff teams will start to be breaking away from the pack. And I don't think that home court advantage is as important this year, just simply because there's really no fans.
Right.
So we'll just have to take it case by case and see how.
I think the only place that home court advantage matters, but altitude is higher. I think that's going to be the only place.
That is a good point.
Otherwise, yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I think that they might maybe do like a pause on the season, not like before where they were out for however many months, but maybe like a 2-week pause for everybody to get healthy again and then try it again. I hope that they do something like that if too many teams are affected. Because my team got hit the very first game, but now like a lot of other teams are getting hit. So if it happens to too many at one time, I do hope that they'll take a pause.
Yeah, I do agree that a pause would be better than any other really drastic measures, which I'm sure they're trying to avoid. I also think things will get easier. I'm sure players will probably be mandated to take the vaccine once it's readily available and fully tested.
They did say that they won't jump in line with it. They're not gonna.
Interesting.
They said they will not do that. That elderly and sick people need it more than NBA players. I just came across something interesting. It's back to the Rockets though, but Shaq apparently said that Christian Wood isn't talented, but plays hard.
Okay, so
where did that even come from?
Talking about Shaq, so there's a lot of people who think that Shaq just hates all big men that aren't him. I don't know if you heard just recently.
Who was it?
He was talking trash about Rudy Gobert.
Yes.
And he's like, Rudy Gobert is such an inspiration to kids because you too can average 10 points in the NBA and get paid $200 million.
Why is he such a hater?
And then he said, wow, Nikola Jokic is averaging 30 points right now. He must be worth $600 million. Just as another jab at Gobert. I don't know why. And I don't know when he's kidding or not. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys that I really can't tell when he's being serious. Especially over like social media where there's no tone of voice. So like, there's no reason to hate on Christian Wood, especially if you know his story, how hard he had to fight to get into the league and getting into a starting spot.
And
he's got good numbers.
His girlfriend broke up with him the day he didn't get drafted. I couldn't believe that. That is
she's kicking herself now, I guarantee it.
Yeah, I'm sure she's very, very sad now. And then Barkley, I'm like going through Twitter as we're talking and stuff just to see if there's any new news about anything. Barkley said, take those Houston Rockets tonight. They got that stench out of the locker room. Oh, Lord.
Now, those two are two of my favorite. It's one of my favorite analyst duos, mostly for the comedic aspect. They sometimes have some actual good insight. I think people forget how good of a player Charles Barkley was in his
I have a Barkley jersey.
I have
a Rockets one?
Barkley jersey. It's my favorite jersey because it's reversible and it's that old school like navy blue one with the old school rocket.
Nice.
My favorite jersey. And now it's the only jersey I can wear because all my other ones are Harden jerseys. So I'm gonna wear my Barkley jersey.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Barkley hate because he's definitely out of shape now. His NBA takes are possibly the worst on national TV, and so people give him a lot of smack for that. But people forget that Barkley was an NBA MVP, and
Mm-hmm.
he gave Michael Jordan a lot of problems in the finals when they played each other. I mean, as we all know, Michael Jordan ended up winning, but Barkley was putting up some really good numbers. He was one of the she bought more than one Harden jersey. Elizabeth's first mistake.
You know what? I'm not. My boyfriend said I need to burn the jerseys because he got traded. I'm like, I'm not burning those. I'm gonna make I'm gonna have like the biggest collection. I do have a Gerald Green jersey, but I ordered it online and I bought it in the wrong size, so it's just a little bit too big to wear. But I'll keep it still.
You gotta. I
I'm gonna
did see
Christian
there is a
Wood one.
place in Houston where you can get a free car wash in exchange for your Harden jersey. So if you need a car wash, take one of your extra
I think they're
jerseys.
worth a little bit more than that. I'm not gonna trade them for that. But I do need to get me like a Christian Wood jersey or John Wall or something. I actually will probably go with someone like Eric Gordon or PJ Tucker, someone that's been there longer, because there's no telling how long these other guys are going to be here yet, So I don't know. I don't know if I want to commit just yet and get one of their jerseys.
I mean, if I were in your shoes, I would hope that Christian Wood stays there for a lot longer.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely the original standout. These other guys are doing well, but you just never know. A James Harden jersey is not worth more than a car wash. Take the deal.
No.
There's also the sentimental value. I know how much you rave about PJ Tucker. We've complained about Eric Gordon quite a few times on the show, so I would lean towards PJ Tucker myself. There's also, I don't remember who does it. There is a jersey insurance policy, sort of. The company that sells these jerseys, it's like a fan protection thing, that if the player of your jersey gets traded within like a certain time frame, you can send it back and request a new jersey. So like if any of these Harden fans bought Harden jerseys within the last, I don't know, let's say a year, they can send them back and then get all their Christian Wood jerseys.
Yeah, I could probably get a whole bunch on sale now. I could get like some nice jerseys, nice Harden jerseys on sale, but I don't really need any new Harden jerseys. I gotta switch it up. Maybe I'll go with Daniel House, even though he had that whole thing in the bubble.
The bubble, yeah.
I've always liked him because he. This is a really dumb reason to like him, but he did a training camp at U of H, and that's my college football team and basketball team. So that's the only reason I've ever been like, yeah, Daniel House, but maybe I'll get one of his jerseys. I don't know. There's all kinds of new choices. I'm gonna see who my favorite is. Watch a few games and see who. I can't believe you even own a Houston shirt. Jersey.
I made it a goal to one day before I die own a jersey shirt or a jersey of every NBA team. So I got a Houston one. This is actually a Dwight Howard.
I thought it wasn't a 13 this whole time. I was like, I don't think that's a 13.
Yeah, this is an old Dwight Howard because it was like $12 or something.
Nice. So who all do you have? Who don't you have?
All right. Well, my list of what I don't have is pretty long still. Of course, I've got Thunder. I've got a Russell Westbrook Thunder jersey shirt. The jersey shirts are cheaper, which is why I go for those instead of like $150 jersey. You can get something like this brand new for $30. I've got that. I've got this one. I've got a long sleeve Brooklyn Nets shirt that I got before all this. It was when I liked watching D'Angelo Russell.
Don't tell me you're a secret Harden fan.
No, this was a long time ago. I've got a Utah Jazz one. Some of these aren't jerseys, but I do have a knockoff Stockton jersey. What's that face about? And then he just leaves. What else I have? I have my Kobe Bryant Lakers. Um, that might be it.
So
It's very.
who's your next team that you like have to get?
I honestly haven't looked because like I made it such a long-term goal. I like told myself before I die that I haven't been really looking into it. If I wanted to, I could be like buying one every month, but it's been a long time since I've gotten one.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just have to see. I'll look into it. But I mean, also if I end up getting a jersey, you know, we got some great young guys coming out of Oklahoma City. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is doing quite phenomenally so far as the main guy for the Thunder. So hopefully we keep him long term.
The Thunder are doing pretty well, right?
Yeah, I pulled up the standings so we can take a look at how the league is shaping up for the last 10, 15 minutes of our show. Unfortunately, Houston is already at the bottom at 3-6, second to last in the West.
Yeah.
I'll have to see, actually, while we're talking about this. I need to see if we own your guys' pick for this year.
Probably.
Because that would be
didn't they get one from the Nets though?
They do, but it might not be as good as because we have the Houston Rockets pick, which will reflect your record, and the pick you guys have will reflect Brooklyn's record.
I see.
So Thunder.
So
are
you want the Rockets to tank for your team?
Yeah, we do. So the Thunder are sitting right outside of the playoff picture. They're 5-6, tied with the Grizzlies. Surprisingly, the Grizzlies are right there, even though they've lost to Ja Morant to injury.
What happened to Ja Morant?
He busted something in his leg. I can't remember.
I didn't know that. That sucks for them.
Yeah, he only played like 2 or 3 games, I think. Ja Morant during the second quarter of the game between the Grizzlies and Nets. Looks like a grade 2 ankle sprain. So no fracture. There's people saying he could return Friday, actually. So
cool. Good.
He will be back, but they won more games than I thought they would without Ja. And then they're also tied with the Denver Nuggets, who started out very slowly, but they're starting to pick up pace behind Nikola Jokic, who is averaging a triple-double at the center position and shooting 50% from the field and 41% from three, which is just nonsense. I actually think, I was thinking about this. I didn't want to put it in the Discord because I thought you might. I didn't know how you would react. But I am officially, I think, moving away from my Giannis for MVP campaign.
Thank God. Oh, my
God. He's still doing really, really well. 20-something points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. But most of his numbers are down. The Bucks are still doing well. They're 8-4. Giannis is still an all-star lock, probably an all-star starter still. But Chris Middleton is having his best season so far. He's got career highs in points and assists. He is shattering the 50, 40, 90 shooting mark. He's shooting like 47% from 3 on 8 attempts and 93% from the line, something ridiculous like that. So, like, I talked all the time about how I don't really like picking an MVP from these duos, but Chris Middleton is looking like a superstar duo right now with Giannis. So
okay. That's what I was gonna say. Chris Middleton's with the Bucks, right? But yeah.
Okay. He's doing so well. So I think my pick will be dependent on how the standings shake up, because right now I think my front runners would be Luka Doncic. And Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is having such a good year. But, I mean, if Denver's kind of sitting outside the playoffs, he won't get it. I think if Dallas or Denver can get into a top 4, maybe even 5 seed, one of those two really have a good chance at MVP.
I would love to see Luka win it. But, okay, I'm just now looking at all these numbers and everything. Of course, Lakers have 10 wins, 3 losses. Let's see. So
Jason Tatum MVP. I looked at his stuff, but I just think Jaylen Brown is doing so much for them as well. Now, Jason is the better player, but it's one of those guys, and maybe Jaylen Brown isn't enough of a superstar duo to throw Jason out of contention. But just based on the numbers and how hard they're carrying their teams right now, Luka and Jokic are just blowing it out of the water. Of course, the Celtics have the advantage in record, which I think plays into the MVP narrative in every single year except like one time when Kareem won it and Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
So the Mavericks, you said earlier that what did you say in the Discord? You said Luka going off, Mavericks.
Oh yeah. So first of all, Luka got Player of the Week, and I think he averaged like a 30-point triple-double for the week on much better shooting. So he's finally starting to regain his form. We're seeing the Luka of last year. I don't want to see say the Luka of old because this is like his third season.
Yeah,
Maybe his second. I can't remember. He's young.
I think it's his third.
Yeah, but Luka's not known as a defender.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of worry about what kind of player can he be if he's just a minus on the defensive end. But they have, and let me reorganize the standings here. They currently have the best defense in the Western Conference, the Dallas Mavericks do. As far as opponents' points per game, if we use that as our very limited scope there, 104.4 points allowed is the lowest in the Western Conference, and the second lowest in the league behind the Cleveland Cavaliers have the lowest points allowed per game. Of course, you can gauge defense on a whole bunch of other stuff. I haven't looked at their strength of schedule, which I just don't have time to look at all those nitpicky little things.
Yeah.
But that's a good sign for the Mavericks if their defense is holding out and you're just kind of waiting for Luka to pick up his game again and for Porzingis to return. I don't know if he's played yet this season.
No, but he comes back. I just read something that he's about to come back. It's just any game now.
I think he was supposed to come back in a game that got postponed.
Oh, right.
For COVID stuff. And I don't think they're playing today. So hopefully by this weekend, we get our first taste of 2021 Porzingis. So I'd say that Dallas are probably a high riser. If I had to put my money on a team in the Western Conference right now, Dallas should start looking better, which will definitely help the Luka MVP case.
I like seeing the Trailblazers and the Suns there. There's been a shakeup from last year for sure. A bunch of teams that were in the top 8 are way down at the bottom, Rockets included. But the Warriors, they're at 7, and which I think is close to kind of what we predicted. I think we said they'll probably end up around 5th seed or something. Mm-hmm. And but the Trailblazers and the Suns, have you gotten to watch any Suns games? Because I know CJ McCollum on the Trailblazers is balling. When he played the Rockets, oh my God, he just went.
Yeah. I was actually surprised. Portland, I feel like they've always gotten off to a slow start. Mm-hmm. Last season, they only made the playoffs because of the play-in tournament. And I mean, they deserve to get into the play-in tournament. They definitely fought for it. But they're jumping right out of the gate. And CJ McCollum is currently 2nd in the league in scoring, which I thought I never would have guessed. Right now, Bradley Beal is scoring 35 points a game, and no one is close to him. Unfortunately, the Wizards are absolutely horrible.
That's so sad that they got that. That's where he's scoring like that.
Well, I mean, look at this, and then we'll get back to the Suns here. The Wizards have the second best offense in the league. 120.5 points a game is only behind the Bucks by half a point. But they allow 121 points scored on them per game, which is
no defensive players.
None. It's poor. And I think Thomas Bryant, they're like one center. I think he just got injured.
Oh,
so like all they need to do is fix their defense, and they're a scary team. The offense is 100% there. Bradley Beal is doing phenomenally. Westbrook has played pretty well alongside him. If
he got injured again, though. He had his quad again, I think. So I want to say it's the same quad that he injured in the bubble. if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, but I think, but he might be back already. I'm not sure. But I saw that he was injured, and I was like, my gosh, again, that poor dude.
Yeah, they cannot catch a break. I haven't been able to watch a Phoenix Suns game yet. I do try to check the box scores for all the game to kind of have an idea, a very limited picture of how players are doing. And I'm always surprised because nothing on the Phoenix Suns box scores like really jump out at me. It's not like looking at
Harden's scoring.
Yeah, like there's no players on their team scoring 30, 40 points or having triple doubles. It's like, oh, Chris Paul had 17 points and 6 assists, which is what I'm used to saying.
Chris Paul.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking Devin Booker. That's all I was thinking while we were talking about this. And I completely forgot they have Chris Paul. Of course they're good.
I strongly believe it's that Chris Paul effect. And he's transforming that team leadership. And they're tied for, I've got my thing organized the wrong way, but they've got pretty good, they're tied for third in the Western Conference right now. And really, they added Chris Paul and lost Rubio and Oubre. I think they lost Baines, too.
I think the Oubre was a good move, though. My goodness.
It might have been.
Do you know, I heard this stat about the Warriors. I want to say they're like maybe the very last in 3-point shots out of the league, scoring percentage-wise. But they would be like 6th or 7th or something if Kelly Oubre didn't take any shots.
I think it was 3-point percentage. I might be wrong, but I do remember seeing this. And they were like 28th or 29th in shooting in like 3-point percentage. And they would have been, I want to say it was actually like 4th.
It was something crazy. It was some kind
if Oubre didn't attempt a single three.
That sucks so bad.
But they are in the playoff picture. Which is impressive in the West right now, especially with their struggles. Looking at Oubre's numbers now, his 3-point percentage is still bad. it's not as bad. It's gotten a little bit better. Last week when I was on the show with Francis, it was 14%. It is now 17%. So baby steps. I think Wiggins is the guy who's actually started stepping up.
And Curry is playing great again.
Curry is playing at an all-star level. He's top 5 in scoring. He's facilitating pretty well. His shooting is picking up again. Wiggins is shooting 39% from 3 now, which is very passable in the NBA. And he's like, I don't know if it's changed. Let me slide this over. He is 6th in the league in block shots right now, Andrew Wiggins.
Wow.
Top of all forwards and guards, or small forwards and guards, which, I mean, it says a lot to his effort right now with the Warriors. And maybe he's trying to, change his image in Golden State. I'd love to see him have a resurgence there. His scoring has dropped down, but I think that's because he isn't as relied upon like he was in Minnesota.
Right.
He has to play a lot more off of Steph, who commands a lot more attention than anyone in Minnesota ever has.
Just real quick, the Rockets are up by 2 with 8 seconds left.
Very nice. And I think that's a good way to call it for our James Harden special for the day.
Yeah,
we have reached our hour. What do you got?
I would love to see them, go on to the playoffs and everything, but how crazy would it be if they did go win the championship as soon as James Harden left? That would be insane. I was thinking about that earlier. It's obviously not going to happen, but how crazy would that be? Okay.
Oh, I do have one more thing.
Okay.
Before we call it, and it is the Houston Rockets 2021 pick. We have the pick swap with the Rockets. Which means if your pick is worse than ours,
so no matter what, you get it.
Not quite. It says pick swap for Rockets first rounder, top 4 protected, which I think means if it is a top 4 pick, then we can't take it from you. And then it says and or Brooklyn Nets first round pick. I don't know what that means. Let's see. With the James Harden trade to the Brooklyn Nets, that Rockets pick looking awfully sweet. Oklahoma City will get to keep the best 2 picks out of their own: the Miami Heat, the Rockets, and the Nets.
The top 4 protected does indeed mean that it cannot change hands if it is in the top 4 picks, and it gets kicked on to the next year.
Oh, I did not know that last part. But either way, got to get that top 4. If it's 5, that's ours. But I mean, I think we're in a good spot. We'll have to see how the Rockets do in this next week, as well as the Nets.
Right.
We'll try not to talk about them as much, but they'll definitely be on the radar.
The Nets' first game, like with Harden and everything, is going to be against the Magic. So I mean, it's not like I think the next game is Monday. They play the Bucks. That's the game we want to watch.
All right, we'll definitely keep tabs on that. Tune in here. We'll be here next Thursday, we hope, as long as everything goes well. Thanks everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you guys later.
Bye.